over here, three of its legislative powers. 1A, as you can see, three of its legislative powers. Legislative powers, you will write down any 3 points. There are many points mentioned over here. There are nearly 6 points. So you will write down any three, the three legislative powers of the Union Parliament. As you can see, the first heading, matters in the Union list. Matters in the Union list. You will write down this whole paragraph. Second, matters in the concurrent list. You will write down the whole paragraph. And third, residuary powers. You will write down this whole paragraph. Is it clear? So these are the legislative powers of the Union Parliament. Next, 1B. 1B structured 1B, three of its financial powers. Three financial powers of the Union Parliament. Next page, financial powers. You can see financial powers. Financial powers. Next page. Did you get this? Financial powers. You have the heading, the budget. The budget. You write down this whole paragraph. The budget, first point. Second point, supplementary grants as the second point. And the third point, vote on accounts, right? If you are finding it too long, you can write down salaries as well. That is point number 4. If you can see salaries, I think that's a quite short paragraph, quite short, right? Only 2 lines are there. So you can write down 1, 2, and 4th point, that is salaries, right? That's the financial power of the Union Parliament. Next, come to 1C, administrative powers or executive powers. 1C, 4 of its administrative or executive powers. So administrative, looking after the administration, right? So in other words, it is also known as executive powers. So executive powers, page 173. Page 173, as you can see, just below your left-hand side, control over the executive. Did you get that subheading? Control over the executive, right? Now, under this, there are 5 points you have been asked to write down, 4 points, right? You have been asked to write down 4 points. Interpellation, vote of no confidence, adjournment motion, other motions of censor, monetary control, right? So here you see, so the question is asking only 4, right? So you will write down 1, 2, 3, and 4. So interpellation, that is question hour, calling attention notice, half an hour discussion, are some of the devices to seek information from the government about its policies and performances. So you can write this paragraph till here. You can write about interpellation. Next, vote of no confidence. If a government acts against the constitutional provision, it can be voted out of office by passing a vote of no confidence against the Prime Minister and all the ministers as a whole. Next one, you can write down adjournment motion, right? Motion for adjournment is aimed at censoring the acts of omission and commission of the ministers, right? So you can give the examples. So when the adjournment motions are allowed to be passed, death of several persons due to consumption of unlicensed liquor. As an example, you can write this adjournment motion. So this is structured question 1. I have finished A, B, and C. Next, 2. With reference to the composition of the Lok Sabha, answer the following questions. Answer the following questions, right? So here, what is the maximum strength fixed by the Constitution? What is the maximum strength fixed by the Constitution? maximum strength, page 165. Page 165. Page 165, as you can see, right? I hope all of you can see. So here you have the maximum strength fixed by the Constitution. I'm reading out what is the total strength which is needed. What you need to write. The maximum strength of the Lok Sabha as provided by the Constitution is 552. Further, point 1, 2 and 3 has been also mentioned that 530 members, not more than 530 members shall represent the states. They all are elected, right? Then 20 members are from Union Territory and 2 members are nominated. That is from the Anglo-Indian community, right? You are going to write this as the composition. Now, second half of the same question, what is the term of the House? 2A, what is the term of the House? 2A, you will write down, that is page 165 again. According to the Constitution, can you see the term, page 165, right hand side, under the heading Lok Sabha, term? According to the Constitution, the term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years. However, it can be dissolved before the expiry of its normal term by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. So this is in brief about the term. So you got the composition and you got the term of the Lok Sabha. Next, 2B. What are the qualifications needed to contest for the Lok Sabha seat? 165, page 165. Can you see qualification for the membership? Your right hand side, right? As my book tells me, okay, I really don't know about the new publication. So qualification for the membership, you can see there are 7 points. Should be an Indian, should be at least 25 years of age. So at least 4 you should write. And it depends on the question as well, how the question will be asked for the board examination, right? If 6 qualifications are asked, you have to write down 6. Next, 2C. Give 3 reasons to justify how Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha. This answer you will get in page 174. Page 174. Page 174. Give 3 reasons to justify how Lok Sabha is more powerful. So if you can see, exclusive powers of the Lok Sabha. Exclusive powers of the Lok Sabha. Did you get exclusive powers? Right? So there are total 3 exclusive powers of the Lok Sabha. Point 1, 2 and 3. Right? These are the exclusive powers of the Lok Sabha. We shall read. I think you have been asked to prepare a project also. While going through or preparing the project, you must have gone through all these points. So we shall I shall go through the explanation of this chapter in the next class. Next, list the powers. That is question number 3. Is the powers and functions of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. 3A. Power to regulate proceedings of the House. Power to regulate proceedings of the House. Page 169. Page 169. Regulate the proceedings of the House. Page 169. As you can see, role and functions of the Speaker. Page 169, role and functions of the Speaker. The functions have been if I say in different subheadings, they have been mentioned. The business of the House. The business of the House, actually here it means the proceeding. How he or she is regulating the proceedings of the House. So the business of the House, you have 1, 2, 3. There are 6 points. The business of the House is going to be your answer, third A. Third A. There are 5 points. We'll write down 3 points. That is how he or she is regulating the proceedings. Next one, disciplinary function. Disciplinary function. How he or she is controlling the discipline of the House. Disciplinary, as you can see, right, in your right hand, yes, towards your right hand side, there are the Speaker maintains order. First point, order in the House. When members become unruly, he may order them to withdraw, or he may suspend them as well. Second, in case the words used by members are indecent or unparliamentary, it again has the power to expunge. Okay, such words to be expunged. Expunge means to be removed from the proceedings of the House. Third, the Speaker decides whether there is a case for a matter relating to a breach of privilege or contempt of House. So again, the Speaker can decide if there is a breach of, or there has been a contempt of the House. So if that person misbehaving or misbehaving in the House, he can be simply moved out. Now, next one, third C, administrative function. It's quite, again, you can say administrative function, your right hand side, the heading is there, administrative function, receives all petitions and documents. Second, he communicates the decisions of the House to the concerned authorities. And third, he regulates the admission of visitors and press correspondence to the galleries of the House. So this is in brief. So this is what you need to write down. Answer number 3A, B, and C. Now fourth, A and B and C. Now A and B, I will be sending you through WhatsApp, right? That is answer 4A, B, and C. 4A, B. Okay, sorry, A, B, I will be sending you the answer, right? You will write it down. 4C, 4C. Again, I'm repeating those who simply guess for short of hearing. So 4A and B, this I will be sending you the answer, right? Sending you the answer in the WhatsApp. 4C, what are the exclusive powers or special powers of Rajya Sabha? Special powers of the Rajya Sabha mentioned very clearly over here, page 174. If you see the heading, exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha. Exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha. Exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha. I think all of you got the answer. 1, 2, and 3. Right? Exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha. So 1, 2, and 3, these are the exclusive powers where first we really need to go through it. Okay, then only you will be able to understand. But you start writing the answers. This is what actually I want. Right? You start writing. Next class, I think this will take time for the explanation. At least 2 classes will be needed to complete this chapter. So please start writing. So exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha, point 1, 2, and 3. These are the exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha. Now, picture study, I think you can, A, what does the parliament symbolize that the people of India make laws for themselves? How does the parliament symbolize? Suppose, now this is a kind of discuss, we need to discuss this, right? We need to discuss. I'll make sure that I send you the answer, okay? For this, I will send you the answer. Now, next, I think I have discussed structured 1, 2, 3, 4. I want all of you to write down. And those who did not attend the class, right? Those who did not attend the class, please send them this information that they really need to write down the answers. Because as the school reopens, copies will be collected for corrections. Please complete writing. Now, I want all of you to open to the second chapter of your history. Second chapter of your history, growth of nationalism. Growth of nationalism, second chapter, growth of nationalism. Now look at the syllabus. Please look at the syllabus. We're going to follow the syllabus, and the council, if I say the questions are strictly followed, right? When the questions are framed, they follow the syllabus. Now, I had given you the answers of this chapter. I've sent the answers, structured questions. Answers had been sent to you, right? I hope most of you have written, right? All of you must have written. Now, I really want to discuss. I want to discuss this lesson today so that along with that, we are completing short answers. I will discuss short answers as well of this chapter, okay, while going through the chapter. Now, factors, first we will start with the we have the introduction, the introductory part of this lesson, the introductory part, I'm repeating again, the introductory part of this second chapter, growth of nationalism. It is telling us that how from the 19th century, that is from the 19th century, we see the development of nationalism, or maybe from the late 19th century, the feeling of a nation, okay, for the nation. begins to develop. It was not only in India, in different parts of the world it began, right? So this awakening could be felt. Now, what was the reason behind this awakening, right? You should mark it. It originated from the third line. Please mark it. It originated from the concept of nationalism and the right of self-determination initiated by French Revolution, the socio-religious reform movement in India, as an offshoot of modernization introduced by the British in India, and as a reaction of the Indians to the British colonial policies. Whatever I have read out right now, right, this is the answer of short questions. Question number 3, right? Question number 3, state 2 reasons for the development of nationalism. Yes, Shlok, you want to say something? This is Harsh.
Of the two houses, answer the following questions.
Okay, I don't have this with reference to.
The difference in the powers of the two houses.
Go on reading.
Answer the following questions. What is the difference in the term of office between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha? First question. The second question is, what is the procedure that...
Okay, you just be there, okay? I think I'm audible to everyone, right? So, you said 5A, now the powers. Just read out the question again. Read out the question, beta. Hello, Harsh.
What is the difference in the term of office between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha?
Okay, term of office. See, it's very easy. It's not difficult. 5 years. Okay, term of office. Term of office, already you are writing this as one of the answers of the Lok Sabha. That what is the term? Lok Sabha is there for 5 years, right? Lok Sabha is there for 5 years. Whereas the term of Rajya Sabha, you can get to see. If I say you have chapter at a glance, can you see chapter at a glance, page 175? The term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years unless it is dissolved earlier. And term of office of Rajya Sabha, it is permanent body, it cannot be dissolved. The term of office for its members is 6 years. 1/3 of its members retire after every second year. So I think everyone got this answer. Harsh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Can you read out the next question?
What is the procedure that should be followed if there is a deadlock between the two houses of the parliament on a non-money bill?
Deadlock. Now this will come under financial power. This will come under financial power. Okay? If I say if there is a deadlock, there is usually no deadlock over the financial bill, because what do we see that the total power is under the Lok Sabha. So here, if you see, I'm page 172. Page 172. I cannot help out much because I have old book, so I don't have new edition.
In our book, it is on page 170.
Okay, doesn't matter. 170. There are financial powers of both the houses. Permission for taxes. Did you get that? Point number 5, I think. So it's point number 5.
Yes, ma'am.
No tax can be imposed on money spent by the government without the approval of the parliament. In matters of finance, the Lok Sabha enjoys more powers. Did you get that? Get this whole paragraph? So this paragraph is telling us the difference or the powers of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha over bill. Okay, over, if I say, money bill. Now, what is the next question?
What is the difference between a money bill and a non-money bill?
Money bill and a non-money bill. Now, here you have it, money bill and non-money bill. I think the last page of this chapter, last page, you come to difference over legislative matters, because my page number and your page number is varying. Okay, so come to the last page of this chapter, right, where you see ordinary bill and money bill. Can you see ordinary bill and money bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Page 172.
172. Page 172, ordinary bill and money bill. Right? So this is the answer. Ordinary bill is the non-money bill, and there you have the answer. What is a money bill? I think it's quite clear. I think I gave the answer to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Harsh? Any other issue? Okay,
ma'am.
Right. So we have almost covered. Yeah. Okay. Who is this? Yes, Shivam? Yes, Shivam, you want to say something? Shivam, you want to say?
On a non-money bill, but here it is given on a money bill. Once the money bill goes to the Rajya Sabha, they have to be sent back.
I'll tell you something.
Yes.
What will I say? All of you are there in the group, right? Someone just send me that question. Okay, I'll just tell you which page you can look for it. That's going to be better.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that's going to be better. Or you simply send me the question number. So next class, when I am taking the class, I will discuss this. Right? It's not difficult at all. If we miss out, we will get class. We will discuss it in the class as okay. Yeah, again, someone has read.
Yes, ma'am. I have sent the question in the group, ma'am.
Okay, you had sent the question.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I'll go through it. I'll go.
Answer of that question is given on page 172 in our new book.
172. I will not be able to. I have old book.
Ma'am, if the people who are concerned are listening, it is on in exclusive powers of the Lok Sabha point third.
This is about okay. In case of deadlock between two houses
Yes.
over yeah, I got it. In case of a deadlock between two houses over non-financial ordinary bill, the will of the Lok Sabha normally prevails, as its strength is more than double that of Rajya Sabha. I think. Thank you so much. So I think we have discussed. I hope all of you got the answer, right? I think everyone has got the answer now. Again, someone has raised hand. Okay, no one. Fine, let me continue then. So I think we have discussed now civics structures. Who is this child? Okay. Yes, Pratham?
Ma'am, in the civics chapter, the picture study is also given, so you will send it in the WhatsApp group or you will discuss it.
I will discuss also. Okay, I will discuss also because it really needs to be discussed. How does the parliament symbolize that people of India make laws? So I will write down and I will send it.
Thank you.
Okay, I will write down and I will send it to you. Okay, let me start because we don't have much time, only half an hour is there left, and I wanted to discuss also short questions of this chapter. Short questions as well along with that. Second chapter, history. That is one of the most distinguishing features, I think, right? This is what we have started with. First paragraph. So we were discussing about nationalism. That is from the 19th century we see. That is for the first time from the second half of 19th century we see the birth of national awakening in India. And what were the reasons behind this national awakening? First thing, that is concept of nationalism and right of self-determination. This was initiated by French Revolution and next by social religious reform movements in India. Right? So this is going to be your answer of the short answer questions. Question number 3. State 2 reasons for the development of nationalism. First, we see French Revolution, and next because of social religious reform movements. These were the reasons, and next because of modernization, which really, developed the feeling of nationalism. Next, we start with factors promoting growth of nationalism. Now, here you have a short answer question. Number 1, the definition of nationalism has been asked. What is nationalism? Nationalism refers to the feeling of oneness, common consciousness, that emerges when people living in a common territory share same historical, political and cultural background, have the same language, cultural values, and consider themselves as one nation. So this is actually the definition of nationalism. Like we, as an Indian, we are sharing a common territory, right? We have some common background, political, cultural background, common language, right? And our values are same, right? So these are the reasons for the definition of nationalism. Now, next, big paragraph which you have, the right hand side. Earlier, what happened that people did not cultivate or did not have this feeling of nationalism, but gradually we see the cultivation of this feeling that what was here you have it. Why so? This feeling of nationalism was not existing. The reason behind. So the reason behind because though India had a long history going back to many centuries, it was never a one nation and comprised many kingdoms. Now, as you have read earlier, right, in your lower classes, that India was never a nation as a whole, right? There were different kingdoms, there were Marathas, there were Sikhs, right, one side. So then there were different kingdoms all over the nation. So there were times when vast portion of Indian subcontinent came under the rule of one empire. But loyalty was always towards one particular king or kingdom, right? So this is the reason, okay, why nationalism could not grow. So this is the answer of question number two. Why was the feeling of nationalism lacking among the Indians before the arrival of the British, right? Because they did not have this feeling, right? They were loyal to a particular king, particular kingdom, but not towards the whole nation, that is the whole of India. It was only cultivated because of the coming of Indians, right, or the modern feelings which grew with the coming of British. So this is the answer. Next one, children, if there is any difference of question number as well, because I cannot help out much. If there is any difference, I think one question is going short in your book, as far as I know, right? But it hardly matters. So next, let me go through. So gradually, we see that it was all because of the British and the resistance which took place. Though this resistance was localized, scattered, right? But it really, and later how we see it was really because of the first war of independence. The culmination of traditional opposition to British rule came up, right? It was all because of the First War of Independence. Although it failed to achieve, it had its objective, though it failed, but to some extent it brought India as a whole, right? Now people started to think that we are there together, we have to fight a common enemy. Who was this common enemy? They were the Britishers right now. So thus the very nature of foreign rule resulted in nationalistic sentiments. So this foreign rule actually helped in the growth of feeling of nationalism. So this is in brief. Now here you have there were different factors which were contributing or which contributed to the growth of nationalism, right? First, you have economic exploitation. India was being exploited. There are many subheadings under economic exploitation. First point, you have here the peasants. The peasants had to be, or if I say in different form, they had to give a lot of land revenue. Yes, a lot of taxes were taken from the peasants, and because of that, poverty, or if I say they were becoming impoverished, the peasants were becoming impoverished, and they were now under the clutches of landlords and money lenders. I come to the second point, the artisans and craftsmen, right? Now these artisans and craftsmen gradually they also started to lose their job. Now what was the reason why they started losing their job? Because now India had become nation which was supplying raw material to Britain for their industries. So raw material was being taken and India became a market for their finished products, right? So this actually crippled totally what if I say it crippled the artisans and the craftsmen. So simply they started to lose their job, right? So again over here we see these artisans, craftsmen, right? They became unemployed. They started losing their jobs. So I think this is I think we should go through question number 4. So question number 4, give 2 examples to indicate that British followed policy of economic exploitation. 2 examples. You can write down the peasants, right? They had to, the government took away large part of the produce in the form of land revenue and other taxes, right? And you can write down second point as well, the artisans and the craftsmen. You can start from there. from the fifth line, India became a source of raw materials for the industries of Britain and market for its finished products. This policy crippled the artisans and the craftsmen as they were devoid of their resources and livelihood. So this you can write down for short question, answer number 4. Okay. Next one, question number 5. Give 2 reasons for industrial stagnation. Industrial stagnation. Okay, we shall go through this industrial stagnation, but I want to go through now point number 3. The working class. Now, by this time, because of some industries being set up in India as well, we see a new social class being born in India. They were called as working class. Now, these working class were also not given proper wages. They were not getting proper health facilities, right? So, although they formed a very small, the question here this also mentions small section of the population, right? The outlook and interests were very broad, covering whole of India. Though the factories were located in cities, all those factors made the political thinking far more significant than their numerical strength, right? The working class, they tried to put forward their demands in front of the British. Next one, fourth point, you have educated Indians. Now, educated Indians, it's quite clear that educated Indians will always look for jobs, right? Who is going to provide them with jobs? It's the government, the British government, right? Which could be only one could get job through competition, right? Which was very difficult, which was actually made very difficult for the Indians, right? And if they qualified as well, right? But promotion became bleak. Bleak means that they hardly received any kind of promotion, right? Or whenever they received, right, a job, they always got a very poor rank, right? Not according to their qualification. So this actually were the reasons, or if I say how economic exploitation of the Indians took place. So thus you can conclude that every section of the society was being exploited, from the peasant, artisans, working class, and even the educated Indians. So everyone was being exploited. Now next. You have repressive colonial policies. Repressive here means how they try to suppress the Indians. Now, the Britishers made certain policies and they tried to suppress the Indians, right? So, here we shall go through the different points that some of these repressive policies, especially by Lord Lytton, was the then Viceroy of India, that is 1876 to 1880, right? Acted as a catalyst. I think you know the meaning of catalyst. It really provokes, right? It acted as a catalyst. You must have read this word catalyst in chemistry, right? For the growth of nationalist movement. First one, that is a lot of money. If you can see first point, a lot of money was spent, right? Grand Delhi Darbar was held, and while India was going through a great famine at that time. Next, we see that is the vernacular press act, that is local newspapers were simply not allowed. So Lord Lytton introduced Vernacular Press Act and Indian Arms Act. Vernacular Press Act, it really forbade. It did not allow vernacular papers. Vernacular paper means the local papers in the local language. They were forbidden to write anything against the British. That is why this act was passed. They were simply, okay, so that they do not excite the feelings of the Indians or create a kind of dissatisfaction amongst the Indians against the foreign rule, against the British government, right? So this was repelled by Lord Lytton, right? So you have the question over here, that is Vernacular Press Act. If you can see, question number can vary. Who passed Vernacular Press Act? In 1878, I think so question number 7, Lord Lytton. Why was it passed? It's over here. To forbid vernacular papers to publish any material that might excite feelings of dissatisfaction. So this is the answer, point number 2, right? Now, who repelled it? Who repelled it? Next question is there. It was Lord Ripon who repelled it, right? So it was Lord Ripon who repelled it, and next we come to third point. The age limit for civil service examination was also reduced. That is 21. From 21, it came to 19. Why it was made 19? So that it becomes very difficult for the Indians to qualify civil service examination, and they do not become part of the, if I say, of the bureaucrats. Next one, the import duties on the British textiles were removed. So they simply, yes, removed the import duty on the British textiles. So what happened when these goods were coming to India? When these goods were coming to India, they were cheaper, right? They could be easily bought, and because of that, Indians started to lose their market. And so this really harmed the market of the Indian industries, right? So since goods were cheaper coming from Britain, so everyone preferred buying those British goods than buying the Indian products, which were expensive, right? Next one, we have this is Ilbert Bill controversy. Ilbert Bill controversy. You have again a question as well on Ilbert Bill. I think one of the questions is there. What was the objective of Ilbert Bill? Why was it not passed? In my book, it is question number 13. I really don't know, what is the question number in your book of Ilbert Bill. Now, Ilbert Bill, telling you in very brief, the bill which was popularly known as Ilbert Bill in 1883, right, introduced by Viceroy Lord Ripon, right, it was sought to abolish judicial disqualification based on race distinction. Now, this whole line is very significant. It tells us that, is, I want everyone to be attentive. It means that Indian judges could try Europeans. Okay, so the culprits, European culprits who was residing in India could be tried by the Indian judges, right? So this is in brief about Ilbert Bill. Now, what happened? So, who is really going to be very upset about it? The Britishers. They are, because of this racism, they never liked it. That they could be punished or they could be tried by the Indian or by an Indian magistrate. So they started a defense association. These Britishers, they started a defense association to defend their special privilege. But special privilege because they thought that they were superior in race, right? So that is why they wanted to safeguard. Now this already mentioned, I'm just coming below. The government ultimately withdrew the bill. So at the end, because of this defense association, they all went against the Ilbert Bill. These Britishers, they never liked it. So at the end, government had to withdraw the bill and enacted a more moderate measure. So which vested the power of trying Europeans to session judge and district magistrate, and Indian. So already, so it was removed, and they could not be tried by any Indian judge, session judge or magistrate. So this really showed that yes, we could not expect any fair judgment or justice from the British. So at the end, Indians realized that justice could not be expected from the British. Right? So this is in brief about the Ilbert Bill. So I gave you the answer. What was the objective of the Ilbert Bill? To abolish judicial disqualification. Why was it not passed? Because it was resented by the British and they started a defense association to defend their special privileges. This is the answer, right? Now next we have, I come to social religious reforms. So now we also see certain social religious reforms were also important in cultivating nationalism, right? So we see it social religious in social sphere and religious sphere. Can you see in italics social sphere and religious sphere? So these movements work for abolition of caste system, child marriage, dowry system, parda system, satya and infanticide. They wanted to remove all these things, right? And next one, religious sphere. What do we see? They attack superstitions, idol worship, polytheism, that is worshipping of many gods, that is polytheism, and next one, hereditary priesthood as well. So these two, if I say social sphere and religious sphere, where they try to bring in some changes, okay, reforms. So you have, I think, so a question as well. Let's study three issues that, question number 10 in my book, three issues that social religious reform movement worked for. Three religious, so you can write down social sphere, caste system, child marriage, dowry system, And religious fear, you can write down superstitions, they attack idolatry and polytheism. I think that's quite clear. Next question is also that in my book it's mentioned two social religious reformers who prepared the ground for national movement, Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Jyotiba Phule. You can write down Raja Ram Mohan Roy. We shall go through Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He started, I'm just going through the lesson again, page 20, in my book it is 26. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he founded Brahmo Sabha, which was later called as Brahmo Samaj. Now, it believed in what? Monotheism, that God is one, right? And it also emphasized on prayer, meditation, charity, right? So that is, and bringing everyone together, brotherhood. And as you can see, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he also tried, he started his campaign against abolition of sati, karta system. Or if I say as a whole, he really tried to work towards the upliftment of women, right? And next paragraph, he was very much helped by William Bentinck, who was the Governor General of India at that time. So the effort of William Bentinck can also be taken under consideration, right? That is in the for the abolition of sati system. And here we see that Raja Ram Mohan Roy was called as Indian. If I say he was the father of Indian Renaissance. Renaissance, you read in class 9, right? Reawakening, rebirth. So he was a person who brought reawakening and rebirth in India. New thoughts were born in the minds of the Indians because of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Next one, you have Jyotiba Phule, right? He was a person, educated man, but coming from lower caste. So he really worked towards the upliftment of the lower caste. Jyotiba Phule. And you have a question at the back. The organization founded by Jyotiba Phule, please underline, it is given there, Satya Sodak Samaj. He founded Satya Sodak Samaj, which aimed at securing social justice for the weaker section of the society. So this Samaj was working towards the upliftment of the weaker section of the society. And he also established schools for untouchables and started private orphanage for widows. He and his wife also worked very hard, right? She is always also considered, Jyotiba Phule's wife also worked towards the upliftment of the untouchables as well as for the education of the untouchables. Now, next you have Indian nationalism, social reform movement contributed. It brought new changes. That is, it really showed the superiority of Indian culture. I'm reading out the points mentioned, all those 6 points which are there, right? And it condemned untouchability and cultivated the idea of brotherhood. Next, it really taught the people the importance of women, that they are equally half the strength of the country. So they should not be in any way, they should be also considered. Next one, they protested against the British domination. So Swami Dayananda for the first time used the word Swaraj, right? India for Indians, right? The reform movement drew the inspiration from India's cultural heritage and promoted a feeling of pan-Indianism. Now, pan means together, that it's the whole nation, pan, and a spirit of nationalism. And last point, reform movements created consciousness of a new society. So these reform movement that is devoid of privileges, that no one should be receiving any kind of privilege. We all are equal. So no privilege should be given to anyone based on caste, creed, or religion. Equal for everyone. Now next we have role of press. I think there is a question at the back that has been asked. Name some newspapers, two important newspapers. You can write down newspapers. There are many mentioned over here. Amrit Bazar Patrika, Bengali, right? The Tribune, the Pioneer, the Times of India, Hindu, the Statesman. I think these newspapers are still existing today as well, right? Now here it is mentioned how newspapers played an important role, right? There's a question at the back as well, that how newspapers played an important role. So first thing, they spread the message, the new idea, a feeling of patriotism, feeling for the nation, and new ideals, liberal ideals of liberty, freedom, equality, and home rule. As they started to spread the idea that is for freedom of India, right? Now next, second point, that it continuously went on criticizing the policies of the British government. That is, carried daily criticism of the unjust policies of the British government. Third, it made possible the exchange of views. People could exchange their views with the help of the newspapers from one corner of the country to the other corner, right? And fourth point, that is, it made Indians aware of what was happening in the world. So in those days, newspaper was the only means of communication or messaging. So newspapers helped people to understand the things happening outside India. Right? So this is in brief about the reformers and the role of the newspapers. Here you have now, slowly, sir, we have 5 to 7 minutes left. Precursors, we see the Congress, right? Congress being formed. I think I have almost covered most of the questions, right? Most of the questions, short questions. Now, many societies were formed, or if I say organizations were formed at that time. We shall go through. First thing, first paragraph which is mentioned under this. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a pioneer of political movement. He demanded liberty of press, appointment of Indians in civil courts and other high posts, and codification of law. You can also mark this as one of the most important contribution of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Right? Now, let's go through the different most prominent associations which were formed. East India Association by Dadabhai Naroji, founded in London 1866, right? Now, what was formed? Through this association, he tried to put forward the grievances of the Indians to the British citizens and the members of the parliament, right? And Dadabhai Naroji, which we shall read in the next chapters as well, that he was called as Grand World Man of India, and he had a lot of faith on the British sense of justice, that Britishers will really do good for us. So he really put forward all the grievances, the demands of the British in the parliament, in the British parliament, right? Next one, Indian Association, founded by Suraj Banerjee, S.N. Banerjee, and you can go through the objectives, right? Creation, or if I say it was a strong, this organization helped in the putting forward public opinion, right? Bringing the people together, right? Bringing Hindus and the Muslims together, and not only Hindus and the Muslims, bringing everyone together, that is mass participation. That's very important, right? So these are, you can go through the achievements that it launched agitation against all these oppressive acts, License Acts, Arms Act, Vernacular Press Act, right? So it agitated against all the repressive policies of the Britishers. Next one we have third Indian National Conference. Now this was convened by Surendra Banerjee, right? And it acted as a model for Indian National Congress, right? So the National Conference, which was held its second session in 1885 in Kolkata, and during the same time, Indian National Congress also held its sessions in Mumbai. So both these bodies had the same agenda, same purpose. So at the end, this national conference was merged with Indian National Congress, right? So this is about the precursors or the organizations which were formed before the formation of Indian National Congress. Just 4 minutes left. I don't think we shall be able to cover this point. So, children, very brief here. You can go through A.O. Hume was the person. A.O. Hume was the person. Wait. Yes, Kathy, you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please send the answers of first chapter again in the group?
First chapter. First
Yes, ma'am,
chapter.
Ma'am, because I have joined the group late, that's why.
Okay, let me see if I can discuss. I had actually sent the answers. I have sent the answers in the WhatsApp group.
Ma'am, but I have joined the group late, that's why I don't know.
Okay. So I think you can ask your friends to send you the answers.
Okay.
You can ask your friends. Yes, let me see. Kushagra is there. Yes, Kushagra. Kushagra, you want to say something?
Not in the WhatsApp group. Can you please add me?
Just could you fast tell me number Kushagra?
860
860
1010
1010
555.
555 555. I'll add
Thank you,
you.
ma'am.
Fine. So, okay, Shreya? Shreya?
I'm also not in the WhatsApp group.
Okay, at the end, you people start saying, yes, I will be disconnected. Okay, Shreya, tell me your number fast.
Yes, ma'am. 988
988
91
91
41
41
832.
832. Okay, I'll add you. I'll add you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Just 2 minutes are left for the class to get disconnected. I want everyone to go through this. Okay, next class because I will discuss and I will start with Union Parliament, third chapter. Next class. So please go through the chapter of Union Parliament because it's little long and it will take time for me to discuss also. Yes, Tejasvi?
Ma'am, I'm also not there in the group.
Tejasvi. Okay. Yes, tell me Tejasvi.
94 153
94
153
153
799
799
61.
61. 94153 79961. Okay, Tejasvi. Yes, Aditya.
Ma'am, I am also not added in the group.
ये बेटा इतना लास्ट में कह रहे हो एकदम बोलो जल्दी से
Ma'am, 9369
9
9369
9369
304
304
601.
मुझे सुनाई नहीं दिया 9369 304
601.
601 601 ओके चलो ठीक है ओके so next
Ma'am.
class okay class I'm disconnecting okay so next class
Ma'am.
so please go through Union Parliament I want everyone to go through Union Parliament is it clear